Okay, so we are very much recording now. So I'm just repeating that for the recording purposes, that whenever you get a message on Teams, because the team is the only place where I can trace who is looking at the message, who has gone through the message. And by the way, it's just not only showing thumbs up over there, it's the message that you have to read. So we have, I have just said that I'm expecting all of you to have looked at both part 1 and part 2 of week 6. So should I expect that every one of you had a chance to look at those part 1 and part 2 of week 6? There were a few interesting things that we have discussed, and we had we completed some of the HTML components over there. And so today we are just switching our gears a bit, and from today onwards, what we are about to start is quite a fun, because we will be starting. Let me just share my screen and I'll show you what we are about to start now. Okay. Okay, Bhavik, that's good to know, Bhavik. And of course, it was expected from everyone to have a looked at that. But of course, if someone has missed out, that should be a problem for them, by the way. Anyhow, so today we are starting. Let me just, I'm just about to share my, I've not shared my screen as yet. I'll be sharing that shortly. Okay, so we are into our week 7. So I'll be just making week 7 folder there. Okay, now I'm sharing my screen. So we are into our week 7, right? So I am in my folder. I hope you can see my screen, Bhavik. So we are into this week 7 now, and I will be just starting that. So week 6 is gone. Like again, we have discussed so many interesting things over there. Now today we will be talking about this week 7. And here I'll just make some notes as well, notes.txt, so that you've got some notes in your folder, as well as you've got your file as well over there. Okay, so the first and foremost important thing, what we are about to start DOM today. Document Object Model. And it's a very interesting. Oh, I share a different screen. Which screen you can see right now, Bhavik? Do you see my Visual Studio Code or maybe the notes side? I don't know. Oh, you can see my mail. Oh, right. So I shared the wrong screen. Okay. Now, Bhavik, can you see my Visual Studio Code screen now? Okay. So it has this notes and everything over here. Okay, that's wonderful. Right. So we'll be talking about DOM, Document Object Model. And this is a very interesting concept. And so just to simplify this concept, Document Object Model, we are starting today the interaction of HTML and JavaScript. So typically what we are starting is that we will be starting interaction of HTML and JavaScript. Up till now, we have learned JavaScript separately and we have learned HTML separately. If you have seen these parts, if you know that we have discussed about HTML semantics, HTML elements, and all those things. But from today onwards, we'll just start talking about how we can, combine both of these. How I can just, use JavaScript programming structures, programming components to play with my HTML. And an API that provides us this facility is basically called this DOM API. It's an API, right? It's an API. I hope you know about API, but I'll just write Application Programming Interface. What is an API? Application Programming Interface. So DOM is an API which allows us to basically make a connection between the JavaScript and HTML we have learned separately. So the first duty that a DOM will be doing for us is this one. So I'll just write it as a duty. For example, I'll say this is the first duty or first thing that DOM will do for us. It will allow us the interaction of HTML and JavaScript. We have learned, as I told you, we have learned both languages, both things separately. Now I want to just combine them into a single unit, or how to interact or how to use this. So DOM provides us the facility. And what is DOM? Typically, DOM represents our HTML document as a tree, and not only tree, an upside down tree. And I'll talk about that upside down tree. So DOM does what? Document Object Model is an API. So you might have a question, what is an application programming interface? Can any one of you give me a definition of application programming interface? I'll be happy to get that. What is application programming interface or API in general, if you know about that? API. I'm just talking about this one right now, that what is an API in general. And then we'll talk about why we are calling this DOM as an API and why we are just talking about this DOM here. Application programming interface. Can I have a definition from anyone? A very nice definition of DOM can be, I don't know, right? Or I don't have any idea, something like that. IDK is a very right response. But I do need response. Exactly. That's wonderful. That's wonderful, Bhavya. And Bhavik say, don't know, no issues at all. Yes. So let's take Bhavya's definition. It allows two applications to cooperate with each other. Rather than cooperate, you can say communicate or cooperate. You can use both words. So an API, in general, an API, it provides us it provides the communication between two different applications. Yeah, exactly. Communication between, you are saying two devices. Yes, you can say one way or the two devices as well. But let me give you an example. This example will be very, it should be useful for you. Now, the example is that, for example, I say to you that, for example, make a website that can bring up tweets from a particular, say for CNN.com. I want all the tweets of CNN.com on your web page. So I would ask you to write a web page that goes and extracts or reads the tweets of CNN.com over Twitter and extracts those tweets and brings those tweets onto your web page. Does that make sense to everyone? This is one example. The second example might be that your college website says that the schedule that we have, the current schedule, the winter schedule, or maybe the coming spring or schedule or anything, that is online on website. And if you want to read that, for example, you are creating a website and you say that I want to extract the schedule of our current semester and I want to bring that schedule into my web page. So for that, your college website says that we have issued an API. We have an API through which you can interact with our website and you can just extract the schedule out of our website. Does that make sense? So going to Twitter, bringing out the tweets, all the tweets of CNN.com, all the tweets of BBC.com, whatever, it means that you need to have a central piece of software, central piece of something that will allow you to go to a website and talk to that. So again, to simplify application programming interface in general is that, as someone has given the definition, it allows the cooperation or the communication between two different devices, two different applications, two different websites, and so on and so forth. Now here, when I say that DOM is an API, we are saying that this API will allow us to make an interaction, to interact, as I said, to interact or make an interaction between HTML and JavaScript. So one way or other, we are saying that apply JavaScript to HTML, to apply JavaScript to HTML, one of the API, one of the very amazing API, important API is DOM API that will allow us this facility of working with JavaScript or applying JavaScript behaviors, JavaScript things on our HTML elements. Now, How does DOM does this? Like, what is the process that DOM follows? The process is that DOM represents the HTML document as a tree, as an upside down tree in your web browser. And I'll give you an example, a very simple example over here, which is on your notes, by the way. I'm just taking that example. So I'll create a file, as we are used to of doing that, index.html. I've created a file and not producing that boilerplate code. Rather, I'm just pasting this. It's from your website, but I'll share that with you as well. You can copy that. It's from your node site, this node site. And I have just taken this code. So this is week 7, and we are talking about this DOM, right? So this is just the code that I have taken over from there. So by the way, it's something very interesting. It has a doc. So we know that this is an HTML document. We have worked so many HTML documents before. So how do browser? So for example, if I run this file, you know how to run that. Open with live server, and this file will run over here, and I can see this file alongside my code. No big deal. It's a very simple HTML document that we have talked about like a number of times. We have created so it's an HTML document that has certain elements. It has body, and then there are some contents which is visible on my page and things like that. There are lots of things. Now, interestingly, how does web browser looks at this document? This is a very interesting part, and I will show it over here. That the browser looks at your HTML, your HTML document like this. I'll just extract this from this one, and I'll show you, because I want to just keep it a bit. Setting tool, and I'll just take that one. Okay, so I just snip it from here. Now see here, I'll just talk about this because I want to make some drawings on that as well. So if you see that I am saying that your HTML document, the browser looks HTML document this way, which we are looking over here. Now, how come browser looks at this way, and what does that mean? Remember in notes I said to you that DOM represents our HTML document as an upside down tree. Now, what is that upside down tree? See here. So if you see that this document has one, this document has one root element. If you see that, just forget about this Doctype HTML for a second. So if you see here that this document has a root element, you remember we called this HTML as a root or the parent element of all. So there is a root element which is called HTML. Now, see here, our browser says, okay, the root element of this document is this HTML. So root is coming at the very top. You remember I have said that this is an upside down tree. The root is at the top, which is bad. But anyhow, we are just, let's take a red pen. So this is our root over here, right? Root element. So browser says, okay, there is a root element, HTML, and you see over here as well. I'm showing you over here. This root element has two childs. So if you see, typically it has two childs. And you remember, we have talked about HTML document structure. What are those two childs? HTML has two childs. One child is head, see here, and one child is body, see here. So it says that we have got like HTML, which is the root element. It has two childs. One child is head and one child is body. Let's talk about the first child. If I open that up, you see first child also has some child elements. So this head, I just collapse this head. So if you see that, if you see that this head it has a child title, it has a child meta. So if I come to this head, you see that this head has one child as named title and one child as named meta. Do you see that? Both of them are the child of this one. Now I'll just close it, and now the other child body has some other childs as well. Now body has one child as H1, which I can see over here as well. H1 is first child. Body has another child of P. Now I'll talk about its subchild, but let's try to keep ourselves to the childs of the body. And if you see that this UL is also parent of some child, so I'll just collapse that for a second and see here. So then it has a child UL, an unordered list. So it has 3 childs over here. Understand, everyone? So now it has 3 childs, and I can see these 3 childs. Now let's talk about first of all H1. Does H1 has any child? My question. Does H1 has any child? Like, is there any sub element in H1? No. It means that H1 will be separately alone. Make sense to everyone? Now, yeah, it's a leaf. You can call it a leaf or a leaf. A leaf, yes. Then if you see P has a subchild. Do you see that P has A as a subchild? So you see that it is showing me that P has a subchild, or this is another element inside P, which is A. Now, does A have any child inside that one? No. So A become leaf over here. Yes, if you talk about that tree structure, it is a leaf. Here H1 was leaf, here title was leaf, here meta was leaf, and it's also a leaf. So we have so many leaves here. Now, then you talk about this UL. UL, if you see that UL has 3 childs. So UL has 3 childs. And what are those? LI, LI, and LI. Now, this typically is called, this diagram is called DOM tree. So when I run my HTML document in a browser, the browser loads my page like this. Is that making sense to everyone? So this tree structure, this becomes a tree structure, or a structure which is basically like my all HTML is basically loaded in a way with a web browser. Now my web browser knows, okay, there is a root element which is HTML. HTML has 2 childs. I know about them. I know about there is a head, and a head as a child is title. Head as a child is meta. Body has few childs. Body has a child of H1. Body has a child of P. Body has a child of UL. H1 does not have any child. P has another child of A. UL has another child of LI and LI. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Now, so this is the structure that it has created. Now remember that right now I have just shown you the main elements that are inside this head. But do you see that these titles have something inside them as well? And that's a very important part of it. Now for that, what I will do, first of all, I would recommend that you just see that. Now I'll bring up the other one. DOM also looks at the document in a bit different way. Why? Because you remember, or you see here, that P has a child element of A, which is element which we are seeing over here. Of course, that is correct. But P does have some text nodes as well. So do you see that P has this is a paragraph with A? So a hollow diagram over here is showing that this is a text node. A text node. We'll talk about text node or text later on, but see that these the main elements have been marked or have been colored as a lightish gray, while as the text node has been marked as a hollow or a transparent box, and a bit of what you say, that a bit of a box with a radius, a small radius. But sharp square is basically representing an element. Okay. Anyhow, this might not be a very much important thing right now, but we'll talk about these things. So this A does also have some text inside that. So you see that text node, link is a text node over there. Link is a text. And then in it is another child, which is the text, which is a text node again. So typically speaking, if an element has an element as a child, of course, that will be represented as like this. But an element can have some text nodes as well. So you see that these 2 text nodes are inside P. These are the P text nodes. And there is a text node associated with anchor tag as well. So the gray sharp square boxes are representing the main elements, right? And these are not called elements, rather they are called text nodes. Remember, they are called text nodes, not element. Can anyone tell me why I'm not calling them elements? Just specifically, I'm talking about this is paragraph with A. So remember, for an element definition, if you remember the very first class of our this course, we talked about that an element is supposed to have a starting tag, ending tag, plus some contents. Does that make sense to everyone? But here it is only some text. So if it does not contain any tags, I'm talking about it does not contain any tag, right? This is just a text which is written over here. So I won't call it an element. Yes, what I'll call element, when I'll say PE together with all these things is called an element, but this is called a text node over there. Make sense to everyone? I would need a bit of, okay, thank you. And if you see here that this text is also called as, basically this will be called as a text node, not a main node that we want to run. Now, having said that, I would like to show you a very interesting tool here. I just, had that tool added for you. This is a very interesting tool that I'll show you here. And I'll show you, I'll share the link with you because this is a live DOM viewer. I can see the DOM over here. What I'll do is rather than I'll copy this text over here and I'll show or I'll paste all this over here for myself. This is called live DOM viewer. Now this is a very interesting thing. I have pasted my code over here and it will show me the tree, how the tree would be created. And here you will understand some real interesting concept. First of all, Doctype Html, which is of course at the very top, but it's not usually it is not considered as the part of HTML. You remember it is called a declaration of something, right? So it has just it is just showing that we can just take that out from because that might not be playing that much important role for us. Anyhow, if you see here this HTML, I want you to focus on this one. This HTML is a main root element, and it has two childs. And what are those childs? One of them is head, second is called body. We know about that. This head itself has some child. And what are those childs? This head itself, what are those child? It has, if you see here, it has a title and it shows that hash text. There is no text in head. Remember, let me show you. There is no text in head. Head does not have a direct text inside that one. Rather, if you see that it has a title, and title has hash text. This is a document. You see, this is a document. Right? Now, then there is no text after this as well. There is no text after this one as well. And then there is what? Meta chart set is equal to UTF because this is another element and it's coming over. Now, I'll tell you a very interesting thing. If for some reason I write anything over here, not here, rather because this is my document, I'll come here and I'll type it over here. If I write anything over here, you see that anything is added as a text, which does not make sense. But I'm just trying to tell you that if there is a text node, it will just tell me that, okay, this is a text as well before title. You know what I mean? And after that as well, I can just, come after meta and I say, okay, anything again. So you see that this text has been added over here and it is telling me, okay, oh, it's inside the body. I've just done that in the, no, it has to be inside the head. Am I missing something? Ta-da-da. Why it is showing it inside the body? It has to be inside that one. Okay, looks like because of this it has just, oh, you see that what problem it did? So when I just added some text, because head does not have any text of something, it just converted that into body. You see that it is converted that body, which is very wrong. It should not be the case. But anyhow, do you understand that this text means that if there is a text? But anyhow, this title has a text, so it's showing that. Now, if you come inside body, again, I'm just repeating that, but it's a very important concept. If you understand this, you will be very good in your, coming, when you will be solving our problems. So if you see here that in this body tag, we have got this H1. So this H1 is a text, which is welcome over here. And then we have this paragraph. Paragraph has, if you see here, that paragraph itself has an A tag and it's some text as well. This is a paragraph with a, and text is link. And then text is init. So init is coming over here. So you see that this structure is big. So it's a very important one. And it's showing the output as well. You see, it's showing the output as well. So it will show you all those things if you want to just place that. And if I come over here And if I just keep on adding something, for example, after this paragraph, I add an H2, I say an H2 element, and I say hello, and I close this H2. So you see that it has, of course, added that H2 over here and showing the text hello as well. Make sense, everyone? So this is live DOM viewer. You can just look at the live DOM, and it's something very, very important that I want you to just understand. Now let's talk about something interesting, more interesting. Oh, this is bad. Why this is same? So if you see here, yeah. Go ahead, Kristen. Go ahead. So there is a question at last. I'm happy to have a question, by the way. Why there is hash text below the head? You're talking about over here, right? Why there is a hashtag, right? So see here, it's something, as I told you, there is something that if I place some text over here, which it is not accepting. You see, as I do this, it converts this all into the body. You know what I mean? Right. So, but what it is doing, what it is telling us over here, it's just my, it's just my own understanding. I might be wrong here, but what it is telling you here that you can have some text before this title as well, because there is a place over there. So whenever there is a text, so if you see that in title, there is a text. So it says that head should have a text as well, which is not the case. Head cannot contain any text without any, it should have a meta tag, or it should have a title tag, or it should have some text. But it is saying that if there was some text inside head, that would have come over here. Does that make sense to everyone? Like, do you get the answer? So it's just showing this text, but of course there is no text over here. And as I add some text over here, it converts it to the body, which makes no sense, which is obviously bad, right? Okay. So I was talking about, this is a document, and I just keep on repeating few things. When you inspect this document and you look at these elements over here, if I show you the elements, you see your document over here, and just forget about this Grammarly, and there are some plugins that showed up. So you see that this is my HTML, and this is how I can see all the document over there. If I open up head and I select this title, of course title is not there. If I close this one, if I go in the body and I select, you see that when I click on this one, and this is very helpful, please remember, when we'll be talking about CSS, I'll be coming here so many times and telling you how to apply styling on that. Anyhow, just see here. So this is telling me, okay, this is the H1, this is the paragraph. So it shows me all the, so browser has all this document inside that one. Don't worry about this. As I said, Grammarly, it's some of my plugins which are over there. Sometimes, some code is injected by the live server. So don't worry about that. Just worry about right now what we are discussing. So if I say paragraph, so you see paragraph is selected on the top. If I say H1 is selected on the top. You know what I mean? So that's a very important area. And here it is telling me that this is the HTML document that we have. Right. Now, after this all discussion, a very important point here. So what specifically we want to achieve over here? Okay, I know that this is showing me the DOM and all those things. So what I can do over here, I'll be just talking about that. Now, the concept is, first of all, as we have said, now we will be talking about how to do programming in DOM. Programming DOM. Now, we want to work with that one. Whenever a DOM structure or a DOM loads a document into your web browser memory, right? It's in web browser memory, and this is structure that is coming over there. If you go to console, and here there is a global element, there is a global, a global object that handles my all document over there. What does that mean? And what is that? First of all, there is a super global object which is called window. Do you know, everyone, that there is a super global object which is called window? And all those, functions that we were using, console.log, you remember? Hello. So you remember we have been using this console.log a lots of time. Have we used that? Like in JavaScript, I've used that multiple times. Console.log. Remember here, this console.log you talk about, or any object, they are all the child of this window. And if I open this window, this is a super global object. If I open this window, you will find so many functionalities under that one. Do you see that? Just to show you a single one, which we have not done that, but I'll show you here because you will enjoy that. If I say window.alert and I say hello everyone, right? Whatever. Hello everyone. If I do that, do you see that I get an alert on my window? Do you see that? Window.alert. I want to just produce an alert on my page. So you can always produce this window. So alert, be it console, be it anything, they are all. But again, remember that I can just leave out this window from here. I can just do that without window. Window is so super global that we can just leave that out as well. I can just write window. You remember I used to write console directly. I never use this window.console. Rather, I can write console.log. Or you remember, hello, something like that. So I can just run that. Or you remember console.error. Error occurred. Something like this. Something like that. So remember, we usually do what? We usually omit that window. Now this window has a very important component which is called document, and that is where we have to play all our document object model play. Window has a very important component called document. So if I click on that one, if I enter that, you see what happens here. So you see on the top of my window, when I click on this one, I am having my all document shaded over there. If I open this up, you will find my all document, which I was looking at, the code over there is available over here. It means document is something that has my all HTML loaded into this one. And this is the document object model that loads our HTML page into it. And we can play with our HTML code by using this document component of our window. I'll just stay here and I'll look for some responses. Are you getting that? This is the document component that will provide me the access to all the document from my JavaScript, because right now I'm working on JavaScript. You remember this is the REPL. This is called REPL of JavaScript, and I can work on that one. So document gives window.document, or specifically only document. You remember we can just write document as well, because window is so super global. We can just leave that out, and browser recognizes that okay, we are talking about window. Can I get some yeses in the chat window? You are getting what we are. So document, #document or document is something that will give me the facility to reach to the document. Now let me tell you a very interesting thing to start with. And I talk about lots of things. If I say document.title, if I enter that, do you see what has appeared? Document.title. Oh, I'm able to access title. This is a document. Do you see that my title is, this is a document over here? Now, if I change this one, for example, I say I can not only read this title, I can change the title from here. So if I say document.title equal to hello web developers, if I do that and hit enter, you see what happens. Please tell me what happens on my document. What has happened to my document? Anyone? Like on my web page on the top. The title is changed because I have said that document.title is equal to hello web developers. Thank you very much. So someone who has replied. Now, if I refresh this document, will I get this title or will I get the old title back? If I refresh this document. Anyone? Old title comes back. That's wonderful. The previous one, old title. Why? Because this is all that I am doing. And when it is again navigated to the document, of course, the old title will appear. That's wonderful. So I hope you are understanding that this document is something that is so very important that we can just play with this document, and we can access all our HTML elements and everything by using this document. Okay, So let's start talking about the DOM programming. I was talking about DOM programming. So programming DOM. What do we want to do with the programming DOM? We can sort of, so what we can say that to program DOM, we do following steps. Or yes, I'm just coming to the following steps directly. To program DOM, or to work on DOM, to work on document object model, to work on our HTML document, to apply our programming onto that one, to apply the programming interface or the programming to our HTML document, we follow specifically the following steps. Now, what are those steps? Step number 1, finding and getting references to the elements in the page. Number 1 step, we try to reach to that particular element that we want to work on. So if you see here, the example that I showed here, I was saying from all the document, just reach to title and change that title to hello guys. You see my title changes on the document. So the first step is find out what you want to change. And it's not only title that we'll be changing. Of course, we can do lots of changes. We can do lots of things over here, but just to start with. So the step number 1 is that we want to access that particular element that we want to work on. So in my example, I'm just writing there. In my example, I have accessed the and changed it, right? So in my example that I'm talking about. So I've accessed the title. This is the part finding and getting reference. So I have just found the title and then I've changed that. That's a separate story. That might be the other step. Creating, adding, and removing elements from the DOM. See. So you know that whenever document is loaded over here, I can show you that this is a DOM being created on my document. Now, first step is that if I want to work on a particular element, I have to search that element. I have to find that element. Step number 1, find that element and get reference to that element. What is the second part? What is the second part that we have? The second part is that I want, for example, I will say that from DOM, remove this H1, or from DOM, like from JavaScript, create another H2 or H1. From DOM, create this, delete this paragraph from this one. So from DOM tree, delete this paragraph. From DOM tree, create an H2. From DOM tree, remove this UL. You're understanding what does that mean? So creating, adding, or removing elements is the second thing that I'll do. And what I am doing is basically the third part, which I have done. What is that? Inspecting and modifying elements and their contents. Do you see that I am doing this third part when I am changing the contents of my title? You see what I'm doing? I am saying, you see here, if I go to console, just close this document. If I go to console and I say document.title. So here what I'm saying, I'm accessing the title. But when I say title equal to change it, right? If I say title equal to change it, so now what I'm doing, I am modifying the content of an element. Make sense to everyone? There is a title component, there is a title element in my document, and I have changed this component by using JavaScript. By using JavaScript, I'm doing that. Now, what is the fourth part? Fourth part is run code in response, which is the most important. I feel this is the most important one. Response to events triggered by the user, browser, or other parts of code. I'll say that this is the most important part, and I will write it over here. Most important thing. But of course, all of them are almost important for everyone. But I will say that this is the very, very important one. Run code in response to the events triggered by the user, browser, or other parts of the code. Because when user visits your website, there are 3 things that can produce an event. You know what is event? When I click on a button, it's called an event. When I scroll down, when I'm scrolling down on a browser, for example, scroll down, scroll up, something like that, or maybe minimize that. So all these are considered as events. So what I'm saying that whenever user does some event, user produces some events, clicks on something, double clicks on something, does something. So run code in response to that. Or if browser does something, browser does what? Browser has, for example, when browser is loaded, when document is loaded, it is called a browser event. When document is going away, browser event is activated. So there are browser events. There can be other parts which are creating event. There is a button that is creating event. There is a UI, UL, unordered list, which is creating events. So DOM programming does what? Run codes in response to the events triggered by anyone. I click on a button, event triggered. Browser is refreshed, event triggered. UL created, event triggered. UL deleted, event triggered. And if it is an event triggered, you need to run a code in the response. And if you're running a code in response, you are doing that DOM programming. So now I'll just simplify it. First step, finding and getting references to the elements in the page. I have done that. I have accessed title and changed that one. By the way, I have step 1 and step 3, inspecting and modifying elements to their contents. I have just modified the contents of title in my example, which I showed you. Then creating, adding, and removing elements from the DOM tree, which we have not done. I will do that. I'll create some elements, and we can create elements and then run code in response of the events triggered by the elements. Now, what does that mean by the getting the reference? I'll just show you one more thing. Finding and getting references. What does that mean by finding and getting references? Okay. Is it clear? I just don't remember. Okay. This is how it is clear. Control L. Okay. So now see here. If I want to, so I have told you that document dot title, I can access that one. Now there is very interesting thing. I can get a reference to that one as well. I'm sorry. So if you see document dot title. So if I say it's showing me the title. Now I can do one thing. var my title equal to document dot title. I hope you are understanding that. It means now I have got the reference of title, the document title, into another variable. And what happens when you get that? I have got this facility. Now I can work with this my title. So for example, I can say my title is equal to hello. If I do that, see my document on the top. It's not changed, right? Now, why it has not changed? Let me tell you. So my title has an let me just text let's show that. It's not changing the title. Why? Since is the title element. Anyhow, I'll just talk about that. Maybe it's not accessible. Anyhow, so now see here. What is important here, that I can get a reference to something, as I told you, that my title 1 equal to document dot title. I'll talk about that where I was missing. I don't know why it's just not accepting that one. But anyhow, now the document dot title has been stored into my into a variable, and now I have this variable that I have for my reference, and I can just use it for anything. So for example, I say my title dot to uppercase, something like that. You remember we have talked about this function. Oh, it's showing hello. So why it's not changed here? Oh yes, okay, yes. Thank you. I just used the wrong one, right? So my title 1 dot to uppercase. I've got my title 1 is not my title 1. Oh, it's just removed. No problem. I can just create that again. So value equal to anything, document dot title. So now let's take that one. And now if as I said to you, so value dot to uppercase I can just call a function to this one. Sorry. Now, if you see that, it will just show me this is a document which is just converted. Now, that's the summary which I want you to just take away from there is that we can get reference of something from our document into a variable, and then we can play with that variable out. Does that make sense to everyone? That we can get reference to something on our web page, and like that. For example, if I say var images equal to document dot images, if there are any images, that will come inside images. There is no image on my that, so that's why it's showing HTML collection, nothing. Now, if I say document or var links equal to document dot links, so see here, all the links of the document should be stored in the links. So if I see links, you will see at least one here. You see at least one link. Why? Because my document has one link over there. So if I show you over here, you will see that there is at 0th location there is A, and length is 1, and it's a prototype, and we'll talk about this prototype and everything. Now, if I go to my document, I'll show you something very interesting. If I just create another A over here, A href is equal to hash, so anything. And for example, I'm not connecting it to the Google, just showing you something like that. So if I come over here and now document, so if I say var links is equal to document.links, so if you see now links will be how many? There will be 2 links. You see here, and this is called HTML collection. Collection means that now that's a collected things that have come out over there. Now at 0 there is A, and at 1 there is A. So if at 0, if I open it, you will see a very interesting thing, the value to this one. So the value or the base URL is attribute is over there, and if you see that it has href is equal to index.html. And how about the second one? If I open this and if I show you href for this one, what will be there? Of course, hash. So it has just updated, appended by 127.0.1 and 500, but it is just connected to the hash. You know what I mean? So that's a very interesting thing. We can get access to elements, and this is the way to access elements. And not only access element, we can get reference to those elements by using that typical Now, this was the one of the way of accessing the elements, but there are multiple other ways of accessing the elements also. And what are those ways? Let's talk about some of the ways, methods that we can use to access elements in our HTML document. There are multiple methods for that one. Now let's see. So right now we are talking about finding and getting response. I'm talking about the first point over here. So the first part we have seen that we can just use document dot something like that. We have talked about that. Now there are certain methods that we can use. Now the first method that we can use, and we use a lot, is called get element by ID. This is a function that we use, and I'll talk about this function. Get element by ID. That's a very interesting one. There is another one which we might be using too much. It is called query selector. Query selector method. So these are all the methods that we can use to get reference to a typical element or typical anything that we want to use. So now here in get element by ID, we need to pass an ID if you have defined an ID on the document. And here you need to pass a selector, whatever selector you want to access. So here you will have to pass the selector to this one. Right? Now, what I'll do is that now I'll tell you that this index.html is a document that we have. I'll just, for example, delete that one. I'm making it. Now, all of you come over here and create another file and call it script.js. Now we'll start talking about this script, and we'll be just talking about, accessing these elements by using JavaScript as well. Right, so I just created a script file. I want all of you to just create this script file with this index, like in the same folder as we have index folder. Now go to this index file. First of all, let's connect this script file. How to connect this script file with our HTML document. Go to the bottom. We can go to the bottom or the top. I'll tell you later on difference, but right now I'm just saying access a script src, and I say script.js. I want to have this script.js connected to my document. And again, as I told you, you can use this script tag over here, or you can define it inside head as well. Both are the right ways of doing it, but each method has their own problems and own properties. Usually you will find that most of the people, most of the coders, developers, they will use this script at the bottom before body. Now, if I want to check that whether my script is connected to this one or not, I can check it very interestingly. Come over here, and I just told you another method alert. You remember? Welcome to the new world of DOM. Even though there is no DOM right now, but let's talk about this. If I save this one, you see, as my document gets refreshed, it says welcome to the new world of DOM. It means that my script is now very much connected with my HTML document. You know what I mean? For example, if I made a mistake in script spelling, for example, if I do that, if I refresh that and alert, so you see that alert is not coming. Alert is not coming. And if you see here, it's saying that there is something which is not found anyhow. It says script.js is not found. And of course, there is no script.js. You know what I mean? And if it is very much connected, of course, I have given a small code that will run before my page document, because before my page loads. So it runs this script, alert, welcome to the new world of DOM. And if you press OK, then it will run our page. I'll stop here. I'll ask everyone, have you successfully tested this one? Running alert, running your script file, and you have connected this one? I just want this question, and then we'll take a quick break, and then we'll be continuing. Okay, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, I don't want this alert anymore because I just wanted to connect it to that one, and now it is connected. If I'm sure connected, I'm not worried about that anything. So I can just, you know, take that away. Right. Okay, so now let's take a quick break of 5 to 7 minutes. This is 3:18 in my clock, so I will be back at around 3:24 or 25, somewhere around 5 to 7 minutes break. Let's take a break, and then I'll be back with some more fun. I'll just start talking about how would you just interact with all those things. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much for everyone for being here, and let's see you at the other side of the break. I think I've shared the screen with you. I hope you can see that now. Right. So we have talked about that, how to connect a JavaScript file with HTML. And we see that now, if I do something on this JavaScript file, that might be available to me over there, or something like that. Okay. So I'll just talk about this because I just started that one. I just wanted to talk a few more things about over here. The methods that we have started, I'll talk about a little bit over here. I'll talk about, first of all, query selector. Query selector has two methods, query selector and query selector all, and it accepts, basically it accepts a selector or something like that. So if I say, for example, document dot query selector. So this is one method that we'll be using quite often, right? Remember. And it says that you can pass a selector over there. So if I say H1, right? So I've passed a selector H1. And if I hit enter, so do you see that it shows me this H1 over there? The welcome, the top one. It has shared that one, right? And the same concept that we have discussed, I'll just tell you another very important thing. I can define a variable heading, var heading equal to document dot query selector, right? And I can say H1 selector. I just give H1 selector. Now you know that this heading contains my H1, which has this text inside that. Make sense to everyone? So if you want to access an element by a selector, by a tag name, you can use that. Now, another very important aspect. I'll just close this for a second. We have only one H1 in this document right now. I come here and I just, for no reason, I'm placing another H1 over here. For no reason, right? And I want to tell you some very interesting thing here. And then I'm adding another one, another no reason, right? So I'm just adding two more H1s over there. So for no reason, I've added these two. Now let's talk about this in the inspector again. If I go to the inspector, I go to the console. If I say For example, when I say that var heading or something is equal to document dot, what was the method? Query selector. So query selector does what? It selects this typical selector. Now, interestingly, if I say heading, so I only get the first H1. Do you see that? I only get the first H1, even though I have two more H1s over there. Now, if I want to access all the H1s, there is another method for that. Document dot query selector all. This is the method that will select all the H1s. And I'll show you how. When you see this document dot query selector all H1, you see that it shows that there is a node list. Now there is what is coming as a node list. It is coming. There are nodes, and what are those nodes? If you see here, that it will show you that there are 3 H1 being used on your document. So the first H1, if I click on that one, it will show me some of the. So I want to show you something very interesting. Where is the text? The text lies inside this inner HTML and inner text something. Just note that, and I'll talk about that. So there are lots of properties that come with this H1. So there is one property that I've talked about. If I open this H1, let's see its inner text or inner HTML. Right now, both looks like same, but I'll talk about there are so many like differences. Inner text is for no reason. That's wonderful. If I want to see the text, it means. And if I see H3 and it's if I want to check it's, for example, text, inner text, so I say inner text, another no reason, inner HTML. Now, when you see document.query selector all means that it returns every element out of that one. Now, if I want to, for example, so we have discussed two methods. We discussed over here, we said that there are two methods. So query selector also has another shape, and I can just write it as a third method as well. Query selector all, and selector will come over there. Now, query selector all does what? It selects all elements for given selector, right? And what does this query selector does? It selects only first element of the selector. Make sense to everyone? It just selects the first one. But remember, mostly when we are talking about this H1, for example, there are 3 H1s over here, right? So I will definitely want to do that. I want to select. Now, if I want to select the second one out of it, there's a very interesting way. So if I say var heading 1 equal to document dot query selector all. Now, you might say, okay, all will select all the H1s. But you know that if I introduce, as an index number over here of 1, see what happens. Now, if I print heading 1, do you see which H1 is selected over there? Is that making sense to everyone? This is very important. So query selector H1, select H1 from all H1, select the first location. Array does have this first location over here. So it will just select the first location over here. Make sense to everyone? Now, if I say that select the third one, so I'll say, okay, variable heading 3, for example, something like that. You can use document dot query selector all H1, but I want which one? For example, I don't know this 2 exists or not. Let's see. So heading 3, yes. So it says that the 2 is basically the second location. And if I just do it for no reason, I want heading 4 and take something outside of it, it should be coming as undefined or something. So I'm saying 3, which is not there because there are only 3 values starting from that one. So if I hit enter and if I say heading 4, you see undefined, right? So that's basically what this is, query selector and query selector all. And they are very interesting. They do not only select this. So I have just given this selector as H1. So it is giving me H1. But I can have multiple things. And I'll talk about that. So if I go over there in my document, and let's see something like that. If I say this H1 has an ID equal to nothing, right? It has just an ID of nothing. And this H1 has ID is equal to nothing one. So you remember ID we have talked about? ID is very important. Now, if I want to access this ID over here, so I can do that by using that same old method as well by query selector. So if I say heading 6, whatever, I'm doing something. So document dot query selector. Now, can anyone tell me, should I use selector all or selector? Because I am looking for a particular ID. So I might be able to do that by using select all, but let's use selector. And here for the selector, just remember a very important thing. You need to put a hash and then write the ID. Nothing, and then select this one. I hope I made sense to everyone. If I just do that, so if there is an ID, of nothing, it will just accept that one. It will just select that one. Is that making sense to everyone? I need a quick feedback from everyone. So this is what hash will tell us that, okay, I have to look for an ID. So it will go to this page and try to find the ID. And it will find that, okay, there is a nothing ID over there. Now, if I just make another heading and again, make it a 7. And of course, what is the ID that I've given? Nothing one, right? So I'll talk about this nothing one now. So I'll say, okay, nothing one. Just find out nothing one, right? So now if I say heading 7, if I say, so you see that it's only selecting that one. So query selector, if you want, and there can be another situation, and I'm telling you all these situations over here. If something has a class, so for example, let me give this paragraph, or maybe another paragraph over here. So I'm just giving this a class equal to, for example, demo or something like that. So it has a class of demo. This is demo class paragraph, right? I'm just telling you for no reason, and very bad spellings. We don't worry about that. So it has just added. Now, if there is a, sorry, what I have done. Close that one. I just want to. Okay, so now see here, if I want to access that one, I'll say, okay, var value equal to document dot query selector. Now, the thing that I want to select is a class now. If you want to select a class, always remember you need to use a dot word. Dot. Now, if I say dot and demo, it will go to the page and try to find out where is this dot demo. So you see that B class is equal to demo. Now, if I by mistake, rather than putting this hash, a dot, if I put a hash over here, do I have a demo ID on my page? Do I have a demo ID on my page? Which is not there. So if I say value, so it will be null. It says that I've not found anything. You know what I mean? So remember one thing that I'll write in the notes, which is very important. So using query selector method, we need to give what? We need to give what? Hash for ID and for ID dot for class. If there is a class that I want to select, I will have to give it dot while selecting that one. And that will be very important because in CSS we'll be using this same kind of things over there as well. Right? So this is selecting. Now, if I say that, for example, let's take a. Now see here, if I say var para equal to document dot query selector, and I say P. Can anyone tell me what will be the component of my para? This will only select the first P, remember, you know? So when you do select document selector, it just select the first one. So this is my first P. Now, if I want to select both of the P's, what I'll do? I'll say para 2, for example, and I'll say document.query selector all. Now, if you see, so for example, I'm doing this P. So this, you see what will happen. So it will say para 2 is the two demo list, 2 node list. If you see that one P, there is one P without any class, and there is another P which is with P demo. Got everyone? So this is basically what it is, just telling me that all, when you're selecting all, it will come up with everything. Now I can do another thing, if I do para 3, if I say para 3 and I say document.selector all, and I come over here and I say 1, for example, because 1 means I'm talking about the second one. If I enter that and I check para 3, I just get the demo 1. Now here when you have defined an ID, here that function will also come into play. What that we have talked about, get element by ID. Now what is the ID that I have defined on my page? Let me see that. What is the ID? I have defined one ID as nothing. Let's talk about that. So if I say nothing, now no need to give a hash over here. Can anyone tell me why I don't need to give a hash over there, over here, but in query selector I need to give that one? I don't need to give a hash here for accessing the ID. Why? What is the reason behind? Anyone? Why don't I need to give a hash over here? Rather, I had to give that hash over there before, like when I was using query selector. That's right. But remember this, that the real answer is this function itself is what? Get element by ID. Don't need to say that whatever I'm passing is an ID, because it will never accept anything else. So if I say, for example, get element by ID H1, it will have no meaning. You see, it nulls. Are you getting my friend? Because this is very important concept. Because by ID means it will always look for an ID. Don't need to give a hash over there. But a query selector, on the other hand, is a very generic function. It may accept a selector by itself, H1. It may accept an ID with hash. It may accept something with dot. Is everyone clear on that? Please try to make sense. Whenever you are using query selector, you need to always give a hash or a dot or a selector name. But by ID means it will only look for ID and it won't look for anything else at all. So we don't need to worry about what it is basically showing that one. Got everyone? So that's wonderful. Now this is all that we were talking about, accessing element. You remember we have talked about the first point, finding and getting references. So you see that we are finding and getting references by using these methods, query selector or get it. And by the way, I have not discussed, you can self-study that on your own. We do not use that. Get element by tag name is also there, but we don't use that. Yeah, as I told you, you can do the self-study if you want. But what I'll be using mostly is query selector and query selector all. Remember, I might not be using get element by ID even, because for that you need to define ID for everything. Right? Now this is the first point, getting the references. Now creating, adding and removing element. Now I'm talking about the second one. Creating, adding and removing elements from DOM tree. Now I'll talk about that, how you can just create element, or how you can just, so there are multiple functions for that as well. Let's talk about first one. The first function is create element, and we give the name of the element, create element. I'll talk about that and I'll give you example over there. Or another function that you might use at some location is create text node. You give some text over that. Right? Now let's talk about that one. But there is a very interesting fact. This create element or create text node, they create the element, but after creation of element, after creating elements, we need to add them to DOM. They will be born, but you need to place them on the DOM by yourself. I'll tell you what I mean. Let's come back over here and let's clear this all. And let's create a function. For example, let's do something like that. So I say var new para equal to document dot create element, and here I'll say P for the selector. What I want to what element I want to create. So I'll say okay, press enter. So P is created. If I say new para, if I want to see that there is a P, there is no text in between that. I'll tell you that that's a very interesting one. But first of all, let's see that how we can add to. So this paragraph is created, but it's not there in my HTML document. It's a new paragraph. I want to, if I want to embed that into my HTML document, I need to append it to some area. Now, one of the area where I can append it is document.body. You know, my document body I'm talking about. Document.body.append child. This is the method that will append the child. So what I want to append here, new para. Now before hitting enter, I'm showing you something. See here elements. So this is my body, and H1 there is one paragraph over here, and there is one paragraph over here demo which I created before, and there is nothing over here. Now see here, if I run this command, hit enter. I hit enter, right? Now go to elements and see. Do you find a new paragraph on my new page? Anyone can find that? Or where do you find this new paragraph which has no contents inside that? Yes, at the very bottom, you know, even after the script, because I have embedded in the body. Yeah, exactly, body. So it is just at the end of the body. Now I'm telling you another very interesting concept over here. I can apply some text inside that. Do you remember I told you there is a property of that one which is called inner text or inner HTML? Do you remember? I can say new para dot inner text is equal to hello, I am now born. Right? So I've given inner text. Inner text is basically what? That will give that element and something. Now, if I show you now this element, do you see that now this paragraph has some text in there? Hello, I am a newborn. I am now born, right? So I am now born, and I am embedded over there as well. So this is very interesting. You can change the inner text of a document. You can create an element, and you can append that. So the main thing that you have to remember, var, you can just create a var para1 equal to document dot create element, and I want to create a paragraph element. Created element is created. I'll say para1 dot inner text. I'm not changing inner HTML, and I hope you know the difference, but I'll tell you. Inner text is equal to I am para1 just created. I was just created. I'm not there in a DOM, right? It's still not in the DOM. But if I just write one another statement, document dot body dot append child, and I write not inverted commas, because I've created a variable. Remember reference variable, right? Para1. Do you see that it has added? You cannot see that over here, but you will see it over here. I am para1 just created. I hope that you are understanding what we are doing there. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So you're understanding that. Okay, I'll tell you another very, very interesting type. I'll tell you another. Can you get? Yeah, exactly. So I was basically looking for this question. I was waiting for this question, and I'm really happy that you have asked this question. Yes, we can place it to a typical position, and I will be talking about that shortly. But right now, I'm just talking about another very interesting aspect. I create another one. I say picture equal to document dot create element, and I want to create an IMG element. You remember IMG element? IMG. Remember everyone? Picture. I want to bring up a picture over there. And now, interestingly, I have created this picture over here. Now I can set up its properties. I can say picture.src equal to abc.jpg. How many of you understand what I'm saying? Now there is a picture. Of course, there is no abc.jpg, but I've given that. Now I can set another property, picture.alt. Remember alternate text? A picture should be here, right? So I have given alt. Now, This img, this image is created by the name of picture, but it's not appended. Now again, the same old method, document.body.append child. And there's a very interesting question. I'll talk about that. If I just add this picture over here, do you see picture has been added over here? And let me show you in the elements. Do you see that picture? Where is the picture? Image src abc.jpg alt is equal to a picture should be here, and that picture should be here is visible over there. Let me show you. You see a picture should be here. Interesting, isn't that? And again, if you have an ABC file inside that one, it will definitely pick that. Let me just copy an ABC file onto our working folder. And just to show you that how interesting it is, that on the runtime, on fly, we are creating, we are creating an element. We are creating an element, and that is accepting the pictures as well. Picture as well. Let me just show you if I can find. Okay, I have a tree picture. I'll copy this one, and I can change the name to the tree. So there's a tree picture that I've taken, right? So now I'll just do that. Not here, rather in my right now, because I'm just doing everything in my REPL. So I'll just do that over here. So see here, I'll just create another one, console. So now see, var picture or whatever, picture one equal to document dot create element and img. I want to create an img, right? So now picture one dot src equal to tree.jpg. I've just given this picture dot tree.jpg has come inside that one, right? Picture one dot alt. I'm giving an alt text as well. Alternate text up here. Another thing I can set its width as well, width and height. Picture one dot width equal to 300 and picture one dot height equal to 300, like that, something like that. Now I have created that one. Why it is not showing on my web page? Anyone? I have created a picture. I've given it tree.jpg, which is a file in there in my folder, but it's not visible. Why? Exactly. That's wonderful. So I have not embedded that. Document.body.append child. And what should I write? Picture one, right? Picture one, and enter that. Cool, isn't that? And I'm coming to that question as well, that where I can, if I want to place it anywhere specifically on my document. So you see, on run, on fly, I have just have a document where I have a picture being created, which was not there before. Right. So now let's see. If I want to place it as it was a question of Christian, that if I want to place this picture somewhere specific. Now, please listen to it very carefully, and this is very interesting. I come to this index one, and for example, let me create. What should I do? Okay, yes. So I have this class demo over here. I want to bring this picture inside this class, maybe make it a child of this class demo, right? So now see here what I'll do. I hope you understand what I'm trying to do. I will say, so first of all, I'll just access that particular thing. So I'll say, okay, para equal to document dot query selector. Now, what is the query selector that I want to select? This is the class, and what is the name? Demo. Remember, demo class. I have selected this para one, a para. So if I see para is this is demo paragraph, right? Now if I say para dot append child and I write picture one, I hope Christian you got the answer. Para dot append child, this picture one. See on the top of my page. And you see, because I have not set up the like, or maybe I don't know why it's just giving that one. Anyhow, if you see that now this has come inside this para. And width is 300 and height is 300, and it's coming over there. You know what I mean? If you access a particular area of the page, you can just append the child on that particular location. That's up to you. It's all up between you and that. And now, for example, if I want to add this in ID is equal to nothing, what I'll do? I hope now you understand that. If I say, see, I can directly do that. Document dot query selector, and I select here, for example, hash nothing, right? Hash nothing dot append child. So I can directly do that. Isn't that cool? And I say picture one. So you see here. Now this picture has come over there, right? It has gone from that. Why? Because page is getting, always updated. So it just retains that one. And it does not show over there. Now let me just refresh that. There is no page. And now I'm doing the last thing for today, because I would like to show you that if I want to do this in the page. So if I'll say document dot, and by the way, to show you the difference, I'll show you alert first of all. Alert. See the page now, or maybe okay, just leave that one maybe for the time being. And I want to do that. Now it will be permanent. What picture one equal to document dot create element, and ing I want to create, right? And I say picture one dot src equal to tree.jpg. Got everyone? Picture one dot width equal to 200. It does not matter, it's really. Picture one dot height equal to 200, and let's give a alt as well. Picture one dot alt equal to hello. Now, interestingly, I am creating this in JavaScript now. It should be created now, but it is not appended, by the way, remember, right? So I'll just append that on the runtime. So I'll say document dot query selector, and let's talk about that demo class. Demo dot append child, and I come here and I say picture one. You see here, now I'll show you the document first, because now we want to see both side by side. So right now, this is the document. I'm not refresh that, save that one. If I save this one, hit that save, you see that, of course, when page gets loaded, it automatically does that, creates a picture and append that picture over. And by the way, I will be reaching to these other points as well, because inspecting, modifying their contents, run code in response. We have not talked about any events, but right now it is directly doing that, which is bad right now. But of course, just bear with me that we'll be doing that later on as well, and we'll be just showing some few interesting things. Right. Everyone is with me. I'll be just stopping here. I feel that we have done a wonderful job of today, and these are the notes that are there. You can always look at the notes, and this is the script that we have just run till now. We have just created one component. We can create more components. We can just change their properties. We can create some paragraphs over there. So I can say document dot query selector, and let's select that nothing, and see if I change inner text of that. Inner text is equal to hello, or something like that. If I do that, you see that this nothing automatically changes. But again, I'm not using any events right now, but it's automatically, when it's refreshed, everything is done, implemented. And by the way, if I just make a quick problem here, just change the spelling of a script, what I'll see? You see what I'll see? I'll see for no reason, and there is no picture. Why? Because there is no script running now behind. You know what I mean? If I run this script over here and save that one, of course, you see all the changes. Is that cool? I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. Yeah. So now the script is connected very much. Okay. So I will be stopping here for us for a bit. So did you find it useful? Like, is it interesting connecting this DOM with our document, and again running that one? And you see that I'll be just talking about some more very nice examples in our next session. So be with me, and as I said, Friday I might be just logging in for the attendance and everything. Last time we had some folks over there, So please try to look at all the videos and try to attempt all those things. And that's all for the topic for today. And yes, there was some student, they had a question. If you want to ask over here, I can just reply here, or maybe if you want, we can go in the. No, there is no midterm, Rajan. There is no midterm.